Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, which is the latest Dragon Quest spin-off, acts as a prequel that shows our protagonist but eventual Dragon Quest IV antagonist, Psaro, and his slow descent into madness. It features an intriguing coming-of-age story, with Psaro's rise as a central villain in the series, and a gameplay loop that will definitely hook players. The game hopes to be a standout title for newcomers and fans of the franchise, as it's a sub-series' first international worldwide release since Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 2 back in 2011. Will the game deliver on its expectations? Join us here at Game8 Reviews as we cover Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. This is the video adaptation of our Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince review article on Game8. Check the full review link below. Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince chronicles Psaro's rise to power, as well as his meeting with the ruby-tiered elf, Rose. While the story is set as a prequel to Dragon Quest IV, the game does a good job of standing on its own without relying on the stories of past games in the franchise. The game tackles Psaro's story of being a half-demon living in human society, something that brought constant mistreatment during his youth and left him desperately clinging to his humanity. It also shows his thoughts of revenge towards his father Rodolfo. His desire to take the throne culminates in him becoming the master of monster kind, and eventually the main antagonist of Dragon Quest IV, with the evil and irredeemable nature of human beings at the forefront of his hatred. The story doesn't waste any time putting you in the thick of things and has you playing the game immediately. However, while the setup and concept is quite nice, it jumps fairly quickly from a story of revenge to a grindy monster taming game, which then reverts to segments that sometimes don't make too much sense.
I do so love a story with a happy ending.
This back and forth becomes quite jarring as it flips constantly throughout the game. You'll find yourself wanting to know what happens next, but there's just a certain disconnect between the story and your progression.
Now it's time for the first bout. Let's brawl!
Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince is surprisingly addictive. While it can at times be just another monster taming marathon game, it has proven to be able to stand on its own in its specific genre. The grindiness is something that we can expect from an RPG like this, and our expectations were right on the mark. However, the surprise comes from how much it differentiates itself, balancing the grind and monster management. How they do it? Well, the game balances both grind and monster management by making it easy to constantly improve your team. There's a great variety of mechanics in the game that are familiar to fans of the genre. First off, the franchise has always been known to have a simple, bare-bones approach to combat weaknesses and straight-to-the-point commands. The combat seems simple at glance, having multiple monsters on the field for both sides until one side is defeated. However, the optimization and progression add to the game's depth, as passing on talents and breeding monsters to make the ultimate monster dream team is the best way to get the most out of its gameplay. The recruitment process for monsters is fairly simple. Using the scout option during battle lets players persuade monsters to join your team. Defeating monsters after feeding them monster food is also an option. Synthesis acts as the main way to strengthen your monsters, which is also the game's version of monster fusion. This is where the grind gets real, as fusing monsters and passing the best traits will be the best way to bolster your monsters and cover your party's weaknesses. While all of these are familiar mechanics, the beauty lies in being able to quickly transition into this without feeling burnt out from continuously grinding. Players are encouraged to fuse them to be able to pass these skills early, resulting in a gameplay loop that's both satisfying and quick compared to other games in the genre, which sometimes had you grinding for hours for a single evolution. Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince's gameplay is a breath of fresh air and way more fun than we expected. The game sets a good pace of the monster taming progression. You won't feel like you're going way too slow or way too fast, which is something we really appreciate about the game. While its cartoony aesthetic may not be everyone's cup of tea in the modern era, the visuals of the Dragon Quest franchise have always been highlighted by Akira Toriyama's distinct art style. His character and monster designs evoke nostalgia, especially for longtime fans of the franchise and fans of his various works like Dragon Ball and Chrono Trigger. The explorable locales also look amazing, with the different seasons as they affect the region's aesthetic. Its unique and distinct style has always set itself apart from other RPGs. However, this aesthetic gets brought down by the low poly textures of the game. To be clear, this isn't a hardware limitation of the Nintendo Switch, but rather a limitation that the series has faced throughout the years. It would surely face some backlash in the future if they decide to re-release an HD remaster of the game when it could have been better in its current state. The music of the Dragon Quest franchise has had several beautiful music scores with its games, but it has a problem of becoming repetitive and tiresome to listen to after playing the game for long periods of time. Dark Prince in particular generally uses the same music for towns and battles, something consistent with the series' usual approach to music. There's nothing inherently wrong with games looping their songs to play over and over. All games do that. However, there's usually more variety. With huge areas to explore and tons of monsters in the vicinity, you'll often hear the same song on repeat, and it can eventually wear you down. Game8 Reviews gives dragonquestmonsters The Dark Prince an 8.2 out of 10. It's a great spin-off for the Dragon Quest series. With amazing art style, compelling storytelling, and addictive gameplay, it can definitely hold its own with the different monster taming RPG games. The game is worth its price of $60 as a great standalone game. The only thing that truly hurts it is its exclusivity with the Nintendo Switch. Don't let the simple gameplay fool you. All of the monster taming mechanics unlock the floodgates for all players to make the monster dream team of their choice. Be sure to click the link below to see our full review article for Dragon Quest Monsters The Dark Prince on our website. We'll see you in the next one!